Shalom. I would like to start the video by giving all praise to Yahawah in the name of Yahweh Shai. Alright, so this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, and I'm going to be reading verse 6. The Lord, while he may be found, and call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, which the name of the Lord is Yahawah, and he will have mercy upon him and to our God, right? For he will abundantly pardon, right? But most people are not gonna do that, man. Right? Most people are not gonna return to the Lord. Right? You can see by how people live, in this day and age, especially the youth, man. Right? So they're not gonna return to the Lord, But all praise to the Most High, in these last days, He has poured out His Spirit, right? And He set a remnant of the Israelites that will return upon Him, right? But for the most part, most people are not gonna do that. Right? They're not gonna do that, man. Okay. So I'm gonna go to the book of Proverbs. Book of Proverbs chapter 1, and I'm going to read from verse 21. Right. It says, wisdom crieth without. Right. The word without, it means outside. Right. It says, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concord. The openings of the gates in the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? Right? And to be simple, man, is pretty much means to be an idiot, right? Or to be unwise. Right? As it says here, foolish. Right? It says, and the scorners delight. The word delight, it means you pretty much enjoy, man. You enjoy what you're doing, right? So and the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge, right? And it says, turn you at my reproof, right? When you look at the word reproof, it means correction, right? It means rebuke, correction, reproof, or punishment, chastisement, right? So when it says turn you at my reproof, right? So pretty much, man, it means he will correct you, right? He will correct you from the path that you were going into, right? It says, behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you, and I will make known my words unto you, right? It says, because I have called and ye refused, right? And I have stretched out mine hand, and no man regardeth. I stretch out my hand, and no man regardeth. Okay, so how has the Most High spoken, man? Right? How has He called? Right? This is the book of Hosea, chapter 12, and verse 10. How has He called, man? It says here, I have also spoken by the prophets, and have multiplied visions, and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. Right, so he has spoken by the prophets, man. Right, He has spoken by the prophets. That's how the Most High has called. He has spoken by the prophets, and that's how He has called, man. Right, but what did the people do? He says, but ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. Right? And that's why the people have done, man. Right? an appropriate definition of not, right? It means to ignore, right? It means to ignore or avoid or to neglect. Right? So it means, man, the people did not listen. They just ignored the Lord, right? When the prophets spoke, man, right? When the Lord has called, which is what He's doing now, as the scripture says, grace has been given, right, so that none of us would perish, right? When it says none of us, it's talking about the elect of the nation of Israel, right? But people do not hearken, man, right? They said at not the counsel, right? And He says here on verse 26, I will laugh at your calamity, right? I will mock when your fear cometh, right? And the fear is coming, man. According to 2nd Ezra chapter 15 going to 16, right? These things are gonna happen, famine, death, mass destruction, world wars, race wars, riots, and all these things, right? But right now, man, like the world is pretty much seeing those things at a lower level, right? But they're gonna get big, right? They're gonna get big, man. And the Most High is gonna laugh at people who do not want to hearken, right? When He is called. It says, when your fear cometh as desolation, right? And your destruction cometh as a whirlwind. When you think of whirlwind, man, think of a tornado, right? When a tornado hits, man, it destroys everything in its path, right? It says, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, right? And it's gonna happen, man, right? And He's gonna laugh. That thing is coming, right? Just because you see the world is, all relaxed or whatever, but that's not gonna last for long. Right? Those things are prophesied to come, man. Right? This is the book of Amos, chapter 8 and verse 9. It says, and it shall come to pass, right, in that day, right? That day, man, is talking about Jacob's trouble, right? It's talking about Jacob's trouble pursuant to Jeremiah, right? Pursuant to Jeremiah, I think it's chapter 30, verse 7, right? Or it could be 33, verse 7, right? So when it says that day, man, it's talking about Jacob's trouble, right? When pretty much, the Israelites are going to be persecuted, right? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and the so-called Mexicans, man, right? And all those people who descend who are Negro descent, okay? Because as we know, man, people have been mixing throughout the ages, right? So most of us Israelites, they will not look like how they used to look according to the scriptures, right? So, man, the day of persecution is gonna come, right? And shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, I will curse the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day, right? And also, man, that's talking about the second coming as well, right? Because scripture says when Yahushua comes back, the sun is gonna be darkened, okay? And it says, and I will turn your feasts into mourning. Right? This also goes back to during Noah's time, man, when people were drinking and feasting, right? Until destruction came, man, they were feasting, right? And it says, I will turn your feasts into mourning and all your songs into lamentations. Alright. And I will bring up sackcloth upon all your loins and baldness. Right? Meaning the people are gonna mourn, alright? Because according to the scriptures, that's what people did back in the day when they would mourn. They would shave off their hair and they would wear sackcloth, right? So these people are gonna mourn, man. Right? It says, upon every head, and I will make it as the mourning of an only son, right? So, man, it's gonna be as if your only child died, man. Right? People are gonna be mourning, right? And man, it's not gonna be, when you mourn and then it passes, right? Because this thing is not gonna pass, man. This destruction, when it comes, is gonna leave the earth desolate, man. Right? And it's not gonna stop this thing until the Lord comes back. Right? It says, and the end thereof as a better day. Right? It says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord God. Right? It says that I will send famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahawah. Right? Meaning there's gonna come a time, man, when people won't be, where pretty much there won't be anyone who's preaching the gospel, man. Right? Whether it be on the streets or pushing the truth, through the internet or discussions or whatever, man. Right? That day, man. In that day, no one's gonna be doing that, right? Because it's gonna be the day of destruction, okay? Right? And it says, and they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. Right? And they shall run to and fro and seek the word of Yahawah, and shall not find it. Right? And they shall not find it, man. Okay, because as scripture said in Isaiah 55 verse 6, it says, seek ye the Lord while he is yet to be found. But in that day, man, right, you won't find the Most High. Okay, especially if you reject him, man. Right, you won't find the Most High in that day. Right, continuing on to Proverbs. And I turn back and find Yahawah, man. Right? Because we live in a world where people are prideful. Where people are prideful, people trust in their possessions, people trust in their degrees, people trust in their so-called pastors, people trust in their false security of wealth. Right? But carrying on. As it says that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Right? So pretty much, man, they hated knowledge, right, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Right, and going back here on let me get this first. Alright, let's see the definition of what knowledge is. Let me start here. Let me start with this, man. My phone is kind of a bit slow. Alright, because here, man, it says the quality of having experience and knowledge, right, and good judgment, the quality of being wise, right. As you can see, man, wisdom, it has knowledge in it, right. So if you reject knowledge, you won't have wisdom, man. Right, you won't have wisdom. Right, and as we read here, it says the quality of being wise, right, the quality of being wise. But when you go back to Proverbs, when you go back here, as it says here, man, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity, and the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Alright. So pretty much, man, when you hate knowledge, you become simple, you become a fool. Right? And knowledge and wisdom, they go hand in hand. Alright. And if you go check here, man, in the book of Deuteronomy and verse 6, right? Deuteronomy 4, not 5. Alright. So Deuteronomy 4 says, keep therefore and do them. Right? The them is talking about, the commandments, right? It says, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, right? So meaning the commandments, man, that's our wisdom, right? Right? As in, like, that's our knowledge, right? So, man, when you reject the knowledge, right? So you pretty much don't have wisdom, man. And that's the time we're living in, where people don't seek this type of knowledge, right? Because they trust in whatever they trust in, right? But all those things are gonna fail, man. Right? It says, as it says here, for that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Right? They hated that, man. And as we saw in the book of Amos, chapter 8, right? When instruction comes, that's when they're gonna want to seek the knowledge. But right now, man, they don't want to seek the knowledge, right? Because right now, man, they trust in the knowledge of this world, right? That's what they trust in, right? Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion, right? So the modern day Pharaoh, man, it's the elite of Esau, right? And it says, and trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion, right? The shadow of Egypt, man, is talking about, when you look at Revelations chapter 11, man, right? That's pretty much Esau's kingdom, right? It's called spiritual Egypt, right? Which is the shadow of Egypt, right? So these other Israelites who trust in this world and its systems, man, they're gonna be in confusion. Okay, because that's what this world trusts in now. But all of those things, they gonna feel, man. Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter. Let me go to the chapter 33 and verse 6. As it says here, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of their times, and the strength of salvation. Right? The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Right? Wisdom and knowledge, right, shall be the stability of our times, and the strength of salvation. Right? But what did the Israelites in this world trust in? Right? They trust in the strength of Egypt, man. Right? So-called Babylon, right? Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Right? As you continue here, man, it says, behold, their valiant ones shall cry without, ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. Right? The highways lie waste, right? And warfaring men I can't touch this thing. My phone has a lot of issues. Yeah. It says, and the warfaring man, right, ceaseth. I was trying to look at what warfaring man is. It says traveler. Right, so meaning the traveler, man, right, ceaseth. Right, meaning there's not gonna be anyone traveling. Okay. As it's written in 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Right, a man shall desire to go to a city and shall not be able. That's what's gonna happen. Okay. So pretty much there's no one who's gonna be traveling here. Alright, it says, see that, right, he hath broken the covenant, he has despised the cities, and he regardeth no man. Right? And that's what's gonna happen, man. Right? As we read in Amos, people will want to seek the Lord when destruction comes, but they will not find him. Right? And scripture says, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Right? But people don't want to seek this knowledge. So they want to trust in the knowledge of Babylon, man. Right? Which is the ways of death. Okay. As it says here, they would none of my counsel, they despised all my reproofs. Right? It says, therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, right, and be filled with their own devices. Right? And which is what people are doing now, man. They're filled with their own devices, such as LGBTQ, women not wanting to be in order and subjection to their husbands. Right? Even those who claim to be Christians, man, in the Christian church, women don't even give a crap about being submissive to their husbands. Don't give a crap about that. They're not even wearing modestly. Right? You even got these men who pretty much dog out, women that want to get right, man. Women that want to get right and be submissive. Some men are not even looking for that. Right? And be filled with their own devices. Right? Because we live in a world, man, where pretty much, chasing righteousness, it's seen as boring. Right? And even among the people who claim, to believe in Jesus, as they say in Christianity, right? They don't care about righteousness, man. Right? Because they've been taught that the law is done away with. Right? Which, by the way, the law, man, is part of that wisdom and that knowledge, and they disregard that. So there's pretty much no wisdom in Christian churches also. Okay. There's no wisdom in the Christian church. There's no wisdom in the world, man. Right? There's wisdom in the scriptures, right? Of which people don't even read scriptures to understand them, right? Because most people who read this book, they only stick to New Testament, right? Especially among the Christians. Man, these devices, there are many, right? There are many to cover. And which are the devices of Satan, man. It says, for the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. Right? But whoso hearkeneth unto me, right, the me, it's Yahawah, right, shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. Right? So meaning those who listen, right, to this proverb, man. Right, who listen to this, to the wisdom of the scriptures, man, right, and do the things that are written therein, they shall dwell in safety. They shall dwell safely, man, and and be quiet from the fear of evil. Right, meaning they're not gonna be moved when these things are happening. Right, but those who reject Yahawah and Hawashai, right, they're gonna go through shit in this life, man. Right. When shit hits the fan, that's when they're gonna realize that shit that they, that they listen to in Christianity is gonna fail. Right? Because to the people that are spoken to, man, right, they don't believe that these things will happen, because there is UN, there is so many, agencies, that are busy claiming peace. They believe these things, they won't happen, right? But they will happen according to the scriptures, man. Right? So let us not be fools like they are, right? Busy trusting in the shadow of Egypt, man, right? But they're gonna be consumed, man. Okay. With that, I hope you got something out of this, right? So for us who are in this thing, man, right, we gotta be in this thing to win it, right? Through the hardships, and the tribulations, man, right? Because that's the package deal that comes with this knowledge, right? As the scriptures say, man, he that increaseth wisdom or knowledge increaseth sorrow, man. Okay, which is what we gotta be expecting when we're in this thing. But the people who are in the world, they're having fun, they're having their best time, as they say, living my best life. They're out there living their best life, man. And they don't care anything about what the Most High has to say. But in that day, they're gonna wanna seek the Lord, but they won't find him, man.